Do you find Football Manager too easy? Then this video is perfect for you. In this video, I will be outlining my top tips to make Football Manager much harder and much more challenging in order for you to make success in the game. These tips are what I do when I feel like I want to challenge and I want to make things harder for myself. So sit back, relax, and enjoy these top tips in making Football Manager a harder game. First up is attribute masking. And now attribute masking is great if you want to make the game a lot harder. Now what you have to do when you come into the setup is disable player attribute masking, leave that unticked. It's as very and as simple and as straightforward as that, because what you want to see is not all of the players' attributes. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in the game right now to see what I mean by attribute masking if you don't know what that means. So when you come into the game, what you will see is that you will see that players will have attributes between certain numbers if you haven't scouted them. So, for instance, I'm using Christian Eriksen here as an example. It hasn't been scouted by Tottenham, who have taken over for the example of this video. So his corners are somewhere between 13 and 17. First touch is between 18 and 20. And you can get kind of a feel for what the sort of player might look like until you've scouted them. And if you have scouted them and you leave player attribute masking on and you want to see the attributes of the players, I'm going to use an example here of players that we've scouted, like Diogo Costa, the goalkeeper. You can see perfectly all of their attributes. So if you leave that on, you can then pretty much work out for yourself, not even by scouting players, like who you can see who's good and who's not. But if you take it off and use the Christian Eriksen example, it makes it a little bit more realistic in the game, and it makes you get the biggest and best scouts that you can get for the club to make sure that you're making the right signings, rather than just taking a look and going, okay, I know I need a goalkeeper that's great at one-on-ones. I'll just go through the goalkeepers and see, or search by their attributes. You can't do that if you're using this disable attribute masking and you can't see the attributes. This is why I think this is a top tip and the first tip right as you start the game to not have on. Another one of my top tips is making it so that your manager isn't the best manager in the game. And that's all down to the past playing experience and the coaching badges. Now, as you can see, I've got it set here so you can see all of the mental attributes are filled out. Now, mental attributes have such a big impact on how you play the game. For instance, level of discipline and motivating are very, very big mental factors in the game. And the higher you make these, the easier the game gets for you. So when players are coming in saying they want more first team football, they want bigger contracts, or whatever they may be coming in for, you can be able to motivate them and encourage them and kind of put them to one side and not have to worry about their moans, complaints, all of that good stuff. And if you want to make the game harder, then make it so that you're a Sunday League football player and no coaching license. So you can see you've got the bare minimum of stats there. So 1s and 2s out of 20. That will make the game a far more harder experience and a far more challenging experience in the football club. Imagine this, for example, if you're going to take over a team in a top flight division, you've come in with Sunday League experience and no coaching badges. Imagine walking into that workplace. People will look and be like, does this guy work here? Is he the cleaner? What's he doing here? Oh, he's the new manager, but he doesn't have any badges and he's got no footballing experience. What can he teach me as a professional football player? And that's how hard it will make it inside the game of Football Manager for you. This is not for the faint-hearted. This is why the Journeyman Challenge is one of the most popular challenges in the game, because you start off with stats like this and you have to start off at a lower league club. You can't just walk into Man United, Spurs, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, and any other big club like that. If you want to make the game harder before you've even started the game, this is a top tip. Another top tip is not to use wonderkid lists in the game. So don't go to your favorite place to get them, whether that's Sort It Out SI, whether that's a forum, whether that's my TikTok channel or someone else's YouTube channel, or indeed this channel. Wherever you go to get your wonderkid lists, don't use them. And this is coupled with don't sign the same players all the time. Like, for instance, let's use Karim Kanai as an example. He's one of the best wonderkid strikers in the game, and you know that. Don't go out and sign him. Make sure you're using your scouts. Don't get players you know are going to fully develop. Take a risk on players that you've never heard of before but are highly recommended by the scouting system that you have put up. This will make the game a lot more enjoyable and a lot more challenging as well, because you're having to use your thought process and you're having to use your in-game knowledge and your scouts recommendations to get you through and make sure that you're a success in Football Manager 2024. If you've made it this far into the video, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me and it really helps out. If just a few of you that were watching this video subscribe to the channel, it would change the absolute trajectory of my channel. It would be honestly amazing. Anyway, enough of that. This one is probably a little bit self-explanatory, challenging yourself. Now, what do I mean? You're probably thinking, challenge myself, what do you mean? What I mean is take on a team in a league that you have never managed before, you have no ball knowledge about. So for instance, if I'm going to use myself as an example, going out and managing in the Indonesian league, it's a league I haven't really managed in before. It's a league I know nothing about. I don't know any of the players. I don't know the standard of football. I don't know where it sits in Asia as terms of a big league. It could be something that is super, super challenging. It'll be super rewarding as well. And plus, it improves your ball knowledge of other countries that you've never managed in before and all the quirks and nuances of those leagues. And if you want to make it even harder, start with a non-league team in that league as well and do a non-league to Premier League type journey, but out in a country where you've never managed. And you're going to say to yourself, look, I'm going to take this team that no one's ever heard of and I'm going to make them the continental champions of whatever continent you decide to manage on. Would be an unbelievably rewarding experience. Or take on a football manager challenge, whether that be a youth to glory challenge, a builder nation, a journeyman, whatever your favorite challenge is, or challenge buzzwords that you've heard about football manager challenges. Take one of those on. Don't stick to the same team in the same leagues all the time because you'll end up getting bored. It won't be challenging enough and it won't make the game any harder than what it currently is. Now, for tactics, there are a couple of things in here to make the game much harder than it needs to be. The number one first rule is do not use overpowered downloaded tactics. Whether that's one of my tactics, one of many tactic creators, whether you found them on Sort It Out SI or FM Scout, wherever you find your tactics from, ignore them, do not use them. Try to make your own tactics. And even within making your own tactics, do not use Gegenpress and do not use Tiki Taka. These ones are the OP tactics. I feel like Gegenpress is the one that everyone uses. A little bit of an asymmetrical Gegenpress is what everyone uses in the game. And I myself am very guilty of doing this. When I want to make things a little bit harder for myself, play a tactic that you really, really know is not meta in the game. So, I can't Cat and Calcio. I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but it's definitely pronunciation is wrong. But use this tactic. Looks to nullify the opposition's attacking threat, highly structured defensive approach. Or you could take the park the bus approach. So playing boring defensive football. Or you may even decide that you want to be a route one side and you just want to knock it long. You don't want to play this intense Gegenpress tactic. You just want to hoof one up to a big target man up front and get goals from set pieces a la Stoke many, many years ago. There's nothing wrong with that. Play the game as you want. It will take you a little bit longer to get success with these type of tactics and get your right players in. Might not work in the leagues that you're in, but you're playing a style of football that is different to everyone else. I mean, making this a challenge would be absolutely great. You have to win the Champions League using the park the bus tactic or a route one tactic. Can route one win the Champions League? Something like that would be absolutely incredible to see. Far too many tactics are built off of Gegenpress and asymmetrical. It's not a different type of football. You're playing the same type of football on every save. You're literally just changing the badge, the kit, and the league. But structurally, you're doing all the things the same. Challenge yourself. Build your own tactic and build a tactic that no one ever plays. What an achievement that would be if you could say that you had won the Champions League with Park the Bus. What an incredible achievement that would be. With regards to the staff, this could be where you could make the game incredibly long for you and incredibly hard. Is not to delegate any of these responsibilities here. So set pieces, do them yourself. Come up with your own set piece routines. You're not going to want to delegate them to the set piece coach. Things like the media training, do the training yourself, the individual training, the group training, all those kind of things. The media is the biggest one. Take all the press conferences. I mean, I'm very guilty of sending the assistant manager to all the press conferences and hardly ever seeing my face. But it will make it harder for you because what you say in the press has an impact on your players' morale. It has an impact on what the boards see. If you end up saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, it could end up costing your job. Now, this won't make the game that much harder, but it will make it a little bit harder for you, make it a little bit longer. You've got a lot more to deal with. There's a lot more pressure on you and a lot more pressure on your time. It will make the seasons a lot longer. But what I would also say when it comes to staff as well is to not get the best staff members that you can. If you really want to make the game hard for you, your recruitment team is one of the key parts of the game. Get a scout in who is not at Premier League level, for instance. So Jeff here, you'd probably want Premier League level. You can attract scouts that have got 19 and 20, 18 and 18, those kind of stats there. Go and get a scout that's got 3 and 5 and let him or her scout the players for you and see what comes back and take a gamble on their knowledge. You know, they're probably League 2, Vanarama National League scouts. Go and get them. Go and make that change. Go and get those staff that are not very, very good and make sure that you're not getting the best staff in. One of the things I always say is get the best staff, but if you want to make it harder, get staff that are not very good and do everything yourself. It just makes the game a little bit harder, a little bit more thought process goes into it, and a little bit more reward will come out of it, I promise you. My last tip to make Football Manager harder is to join an online game. There is nothing like being absolutely humbled online when you feel like you're a great Football Manager player and actually, well, it turns out you're actually pretty mid or low performer when it comes to the game. Join an online game, join it with your friends, join it with random people. It doesn't really matter. It will be very, very hard. You'll get some people on there that are really, really good and actually would smash any kind of team I could put out, for instance, and I consider myself pretty decent at the game. There's nothing like being humbled in Football Manager by people that have more experience or just better tactics than what you think your tactics are, because you're playing against the AI all the time. You're making it easy for yourself. Go and play it online. Honestly, it is an experience and a half, I have to say. Those are my top tips for playing Football Manager and for playing Football Manager and making it a harder game than it needs to be. Let me know in the comments your top tips, and if there are a lot of comments in there that have got some more top tips in there, we'll make a part 2 to this video, and if not, I'll see you on the next one.